One of the things that makes life easier is if you realize that whatever you're running from, you will walk right into. And the reason you will walk right into it is because you're loved, actually, and the universe is trying to help you. It's trying to help you move through your stuff and move through your fears and complexes. But I think it would be easier if we understood this, that what we're running from, we will walk right into. So it pays to open up and have the intention to, face whatever we need to along the way. Like to, okay, I'm going to face my life. I'm going to live the life I came here to live. And I will call on the universe for support and do it. And I'll give you an example of this principle of that what we run from, we walk right into. When I was in England working as a journalist, I heard about this family who had been very frightened about World War III. And so they decided that the safest place in the world at that time would be the Falkland Islands. Well, this was in the early 80s, and maybe some of you know about the Falklands War between Britain and Argentina over, the sovereignty of these islands, the Falkland Islands. So, I mean, it's a joke because hardly anybody was hurt, if anybody was hurt, and the whole war was over in a few weeks. So I hope the family laughed about it. But that's a perfect example. And I have another example from my life. It was before I decided to wake up. And this is one of the reasons that I did wake up. In my middle 20s, I guess early 20s, I really was having trouble with my dad and my family. So I decided to go to England to get away from them, particularly my dad. So I got to England, and there happened to be a depression in the newspaper world, of course, and nobody was hiring, and actually there were some bankruptcies. And it took me about 6 months to get a job, and I finally got a job at a little weekly, and I was pleased. And I noticed that it paid really well, so I was surprised at that. Anyway, with my unerring radar, I found the editor who was famous throughout England for being a bully. Mr. Parlby, his name was. And he really was a terrible bully. In fact, nobody would very few English people would work for him. And that's part of why he paid such high wages, but also part of why he hired foreigners like me, who just didn't know. So that was an example. And it was basically my soul was asking me to face my fear. So I had to actually deal with this man. And, I did. I learned a lot. But, I stepped back into myself more after that. I realized that I couldn't really run from myself, and that I was going to have to face my issues over time if I wanted a good life. Anyway, I hope this helps, and may life become easier. May your heart open and your mind open, and may everything get easier. And so it is. Thanks for listening.